Welcome, theater addicts. My name is Danielle Benson, and I'm here with Lafrance of I Think I'm Dead by Thunder Blunder Productions. And you're going to be performing I Think I'm Dead at the Arts Umbrella at the Fringe this year, I believe.
That is correct. I'll be doing it 10 whole times.
10 whole times. Well, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to chat to me today. You are up in Edmonton, I believe, at a Billets place?
Yeah, that's right. The Fringe just wrapped up 2 days ago. I did my holdover show yesterday, and this is the very brief period I get before I have to get going again.
So you're in kind of serious rest and recover mode. You've just done your holdover show. Get as much sleep as possible before you have to go down to Vancouver?
Yeah, I basically just get 48 hours because tomorrow I hit the road again. I'm stage managing a show that's happening for one night in Salmon Arm on Friday. And also my car is parked in Salmon Arm. I parked it there in April, and now I'm going to go pick it up so that I can go home. And then I move into a new place on Saturday. So there's really no time at all. But that's okay.
You're moving house as well at the same time?
Yeah, I'm moving into a new place on September 1st. But that's okay because I haven't lived anywhere in the past year and a half. Just all my stuff is just in my car or in the 2 bags that I travel with. So.
Wow, that's a real artist lifestyle right there. That's fantastic. Yeah. That's amazing. So is Vancouver home for you?
It is now. I mean,
it will be come September.
Yeah. I lived in Montreal for the past decade.
Oh.
And yeah, I've been wanting to be in Vancouver for a while. I spent about 2 months there last year. And, I just really like mountains and rain. And that's just a perfect combo for Vancouver. Also, things that are ridiculously expensive. I love that. So,
yeah, that's definitely one of the allures of our city is how absolutely expensive everything is. It's fantastic.
Huge selling point for a poor artist.
Yes. So, your show, I Think I'm Dead. I was reading the show description, and it says it's a little bit about insomnia and a little bit about mental health issues and stuff. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, the way I usually pitch it is that it's about insomnia, parallel universes, and how I'm not convinced any of us are actually real. It's sort of like it's an existential crisis comedy, if there is such a thing as that, which I think there is. That's why Fringe exists. But yeah, it starts with the idea that I suffered from pretty intense insomnia for about 15 years. And so I started writing about how that affected my life, but then it also really dives into how I've dealt with depression and how depression has had an effect on my different family members over time. So it's a show that starts off light and takes a pretty harsh, serious turn. I constantly sell it to people as a light-hearted existentialist comedy, and then I apologize for them at the end of the show. I'm like, well, I mean, sorry about some of the parts, but it's mostly kind of light, I guess, but not really. It's pretty meaningful.
Is it up and down, or does it start you off happy and then it just throws you down a hole?
It's mostly up and then it's really down.
Okay.
But there's hints. It all makes sense together, but yeah.
I can see how that wouldn't be the way you wanted to sell your show. I'm going to start you off well, and then I'm going to kill you at the end. That's going to be horrible.
Yeah, just, and drama has such a history of being a hard sell at the Fringe that it's hard for me to just go in and be like, yeah, it's a storytelling show. There are jokes, but it's not happy times all the time. So I don't know, and I never really know how to sell it to people. But it's the end of the tour. I can just say what it is. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer, but it's also really fun.
Well, it sounds like you're tackling a very serious issue with humor, which I think is important.
Yeah. As my therapist would say, it's how I cope with things. Yeah, I think it's really important for us to openly discuss mental health. I'm happy that we've all collectively been making good strides at that, but there's still a lot of room there for progress. And so that's why I wanted to do a whole show that just openly addresses, I think the best way to start that conversation with someone is to be entirely honest about your own position on it. And so, if I can open that dialogue with dozens upon dozens of people at a time, then I think that's a great thing if it works out. And so far it's been working out. So yeah. and humor is just the way that I deal with most issues. It's just kind of a thing. Like whenever something terrible happens, I just immediately write down a couple jokes about it, and then I deal with it. So
I think that's fantastic. I think it's really important that we're speaking about these things.
yeah, it's I think it's necessary. Like
Mhm.
just open communication, I think, can resolve almost any issue. But just specifically with mental health, it's got to happen.
I agree. And sometimes it's the people who are closest to you who want to talk about it the least. So it's interesting that you're bringing in like how it's affected your family and that kind of thing too.
Yeah. My family has always been fairly good at communicating, which didn't make me a good communicator. It just meant that I understood what they were going through. And I was like, no, no, but I'll keep my stuff to me though. But thank you. uh, and just over time, I sort of learned that that's how, they all were getting through it. So that's probably how I was going to get through it too.
Hmm. And you got held over. So obviously audiences are responding really well to your message.
Yeah, this Edmonton is, I mean, I don't want to put any pressure on Vancouver, but this version of Edmonton is the best festival I've ever experienced. Like I've never had such a good time anywhere. Where I got dual 5-star reviews on opening weekend, and I sold out 7 out of 10 shows, which is just like a crazy run for me. And then with a holdover show, and I've been touring this show for about a year, and it's been fairly well received like throughout. But the response this summer has just been growing and growing, and I guess that's what happens when you get up to having done a show almost 100 times. Is that it gets, you really figure it out. It's solid, and it starts to go through. And yeah, the audience response has been astounding.
Wow. Well, congratulations. I mean, that's an amazing run that you've had, and a lot of pressure on Vancouver to show up and and engage. So, tell us a bit about the story of the show. You've been running it for almost a year. You said. How did it come to be?
I started writing it originally 2 years ago. I sort of trick myself into writing it in a way. So in 2014, I toured a show, like that's the only time I ever did Vancouver Fringe. It was in 2014 with a show called The Quitter, which was a solo show that Colin Thomas hated because that's what he does. And while I was in Regina at the beginning of that tour, and I was on CTV, and the person that was interviewing me asked me something that we had not previously talked about, and she was like, "So what's your next show going to be about?" And I was like, "Insomnia." Yep, that's what it'll be about. And then I just sort of commit to it. And so I started writing this other show. But at first, it was going to be entirely about the relationship between myself and my brother. It was going to be like about brotherhood and having insomnia be my side of that. And I was pretty much good to go with like a bare bones run of it in 2016. And that my brother suddenly got diagnosed with late stage cancer, just sort of out of nowhere, about 2 weeks before I was supposed to open. And so I suddenly did not want to do a show about him anymore. So I canceled that whole tour, and I scrapped the show.
Wow.
Uh, and then he's good now. Everything
Oh,
is fine.
good.
He recovered, but I decided to go a little bit away from the family aspect, because I was like, what if I know I don't have this power, but what if I curse things? And so I just started rewriting it, and in the end, I only finished writing it. Yeah, I finished writing it 4 days before I opened it in Edmonton last year. I finished it. I did a dry run of it in Montreal for one night. In the middle of tour, I had to fly home to officiate someone's wedding. And the next morning, like I booked a matinee preview, and then I flew back that night just so I could do like one quick run. And it ran 20 minutes over on that first dry run. So I had 3 days to cut it down. And then I opened it in Edmonton last year as a completely new show that I didn't know how it was gonna pan out. But yeah, it just all of a sudden it was a thing, and I worked through it. I figure I've had this conversation with John Bennett a lot, who was a Fringe veteran, about how long it takes for your show to be ready, and he thinks about 20 or 25 shows in, that's when you know where your show is at. And he saw me on the second day, and he was like, "Why is your show already ready? That's weird." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. This seems right though." And so it was very much, it stayed the same for the first like 2 months that I did it. And then I took a small break from it, altered some things, and then I've really solidified it over the last 9 months of touring it in Australia and the States and Canada. So
Wow. And we're lucky at Vancouver. We get the product that's been like massaged and kneaded and made really, really strong by because we're right at the end of the Fringe circuit. I love it.
yeah, you get a fully polished version by the most exhausted version of me that you could also have. Like that's the plus side is the show is solid. The downside is I'm so tired. This is 15 months on the road. Like I'm very very tired, and I
Yeah.
started a full-time job again like the week of the Fringe as I. So I mean, we'll see how this plays out.
Ooh, okay, yeah. Those burned out actors. That's crazy. It is a one man show, right? Too. So
Mhm.
it's also you are doing everything.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. If I don't show up, the show can't happen. So
Ooh, oh, that's a lot of pressure. That's it sounds like you love it, so that's good.
yeah, I mean it's life I chose and spent a lot of years working towards. So I'm certainly happy to do it for now. You know.
Hmm. So you've been doing this show on Fringe Circuit and on tour for the last like year and a bit, and you had Quitter before that. Do you have like? Can you encapsulate for us your Fringe experience of your life? Like, uh,
Oh man,
what is your experience with Fringe and your favorite bits and your least favorite bits, and maybe you have a story or two. I don't know.
my Fringe history goes back to 2011. That's when I first discovered the Fringe Fest, and it's because I was dating someone who was studying theater, and she went away for a couple months to do a program somewhere else. And while she was gone, I was like, I should probably go see some theater just to like share that interest. And so I was drunkenly browsing Craigslist one night, and there was an ad for like they needed volunteers for the Montreal Fringe, and like one of the things it says was theater, and I was like, I guess I'll see whatever this is. And I just signed up for it, and like a few days in, I had seen dozens of shows, and I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I guess this is what I do now. Is I'm gonna work with these people because this is the best thing ever." So I started volunteering. I started working for that festival immediately, and then after 2 years of working the admin side, I was like, "Yeah, but what about the stage though? I like the stage." And so I quit everything to write the Quitter, and then it's been just performance for me ever since. So 2013 is the first time I started that I performed at a festival, and now I'm 28 Fringe festivals in.
Wow. And a huge thank you to that person that you were dating who got you into
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's that's so anyone watching this, if you're dating someone, get them into the Fringe. You never know what's going to happen. You
Hmm.
might see them on stage in a couple of years. Wow.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about Fringe? You've done a lot of Fringe. You're a Fringe veteran. What's your favorite thing about it?
I think it's the my favorite thing about the Fringe in general. I think is the variety of product that is produced in it, like just the amount. It's really more the people behind the shows than the actual shows, because there are certainly shows that I don't like that I love the people behind. So I think for me, like what brought me in and what kept me in is the sense of community that you feel as part of the Fringe. And there's different like types of community. Like I felt it very much as a staff member and volunteer, like that's a particular type. But now, like being on the road, there's I have an entire Fringe family, and my Fringe family is worldwide, and that's incredible. Like because it's all these people that like last this past weekend I said goodbye to probably like 30 of my favorite people on earth, and I was just like, all right, see you in a year, I guess. And we're all just sort of used to it. It's like it's very rare to have people that you can schedule in, like, oh, we're going to spend 2 weeks together in July. That's nice. And so the community feeling of it and the way it brings people together, uh, I think is astounding and impossible to replicate in another scenario. So that's what really brings me to it. But
Wow.
also, like, all these people that I love are all weirdos making weird shows, and that's what I adore. Is just that you can decide. Like last year, I spent the whole summer touring a show about a man living inside my beard. That's absurd. That's where. What other world is that a way to make a living?
I'm sad I missed that one.
Yep.
Maybe it'll remount at some point. The Fringe is a place for weirdos to come together. I can definitely, and it's not like in a bad way, but in a wonderful way. Like there's so much color and so much creativity and so much joy in diversity, I think, in the Fringe. And you feel it even when you're not, I mean, I'm not performing in the Fringe, but I feel it when I'm like on Granville Island and at the Culture and walking around. There's just so much love for the people and the community and the arts as well.
Yeah, I think there is a fair amount of it's interesting to be talking about the diversity aspect of it, because in some ways the Fringe is very very much not diverse. So it is in the like the types of shows that are presented, but it's still there's still festivals that are predominantly white. There's still a lot of white solo storytelling shows. Like that's a thing that is very predominant. So in terms of actual like cultural diversity, there's still limits to what we tend to see in Fringe festivals across the country. But there's strives being made toward that. Like there is is an accessibility category, I think, that Toronto introduced. Like there are waves being made to try to diversify the actual programming, and hopefully the BYOVs across the circuit also make an effort to program more people of color, people on the LGBTQA2 plus category, and all of that. I just want to note that that's important.
No, that's a really good point. And I hadn't really thought of it that way, because I know that the Fringe is a lottery, so I kind of think. But you're right. Like we've got a ways to go still. We are a lot more diverse than we could be, but not as diverse as we could be as well.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. There is a lot. There's a lot to that for sure. Yeah. So back to your show. If you were to try and entice some folks to come see it, and I mean, I know you've got your tagline about it's about insomnia and parallel universes. But why should Vancouver folks come see your show? There's 99 shows going on. What would you say to pique their interest?
For one, you get to see a 5-star sellout run Edmonton show in a 30-seat venue in Vancouver, which is pretty cool. It's a very intimate show, and a lot of people tend to say that it feels somewhat conversational. Like it feels like you're sitting down with someone who's just catching you up on their life, but at a breakneck pace. Like I occasionally get to watch people get exhausted watching me speak as fast as I do during the show. And so I think in terms of why you should see it, it's just I don't think there's another storytelling show on the circuit right now that is delivered exactly in the way that I do it, that like forces a roller coaster upon you in the way that I do. And I hope that I don't sound like I'm super full of myself, but I just like sort of feel like I'm providing a unique product at this moment, and hopefully that gets people in. It's a tiny room. I can't wait to have it. Like it's been a long time since I did a show in a 30-seater, and I can't wait to see what it's like, because I will make eye contact with every single person in that room, and they better be ready for it.
And Arts Umbrella is super small, so it's going to be like an intimate roller coaster. You're going to get to know everybody, and hopefully no one will puke on you, kind of roller coaster.
Yeah, it'll be, yeah. I will know exactly how everyone feels throughout the show, because I will be able to see everyone. No, there's no pressure on any audience members to like openly react. Just, experience it how you'll experience it. It's all good.
And it's storytelling. Is it high on the interactive scale, or not really?
No, I personally, as a viewer of shows, I don't like forced participation. It drives me nuts, and so I try not to do it too much. There are 2 times during the show where I ask someone if they've seen a particular movie. That's it. That is the entire extent of the participation.
So it's small, and you'll know how people are feeling, but you're not gonna make them stand up on stage and own it so much.
No, no. If they, yeah, anything that they're feeling that they need to talk about, we can talk about afterwards.
Do you have anything else coming up in the immediate future that you want to let people know about?
Yeah, so on September 29th, I'll be doing an improv workshop in the afternoon and a performance of I Think I'm Dead in Nanaimo, which I am super excited about. I've never been to Nanaimo. And then the following week on October 3rd, I'm doing a one-night performance of the show in Victoria at Intrepid Theater. And then the show goes to sleep for months and months and months and months and months. And hopefully comes back next summer somewhere, but who knows? So.
The show about insomnia goes to sleep. That's sweet.
I did not even realize I was saying that.
Well, thank you so much. I've been speaking to Lafrance from I Think I'm Dead. That is going to be playing at the Arts Umbrella. And yeah, thanks for taking your time out of your crazy schedule to speak to me. And I hope that your run is sold out in Vancouver as well.
Thank you so much for having me. I just hope my car still works and I can make it to Vancouver on time to move in and then show up for shows. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll keep our fingers crossed for your car. It would be terrible to miss you.